Welcome to this episode of Brainy Moms. I'm Dr. Amy and I'm here with Teri. And today we are going to be talking about mommy sabbaticals or momcations. Do you know that there are over 60,000 tweets with the hashtag momcation?
I've never heard that term. That's great.
Right. And so when I was looking at mommy sabbatical, because I know that's the term that you use, it kept
Hmm.
leading me to momcation. And
Nice.
so apparently this is a hot subject for there to be more than 60,000 tweets about it. And
Nice.
so I just want to dig in a little bit and talk about what is a mommy sabbatical. You're super familiar with it because you take them. Um, do moms need time away by themselves? Is it
Hmm.
practical? And would that time be better spent taking a vacation with your significant other instead? So
Hmm.
let's just get to it right now. And I'm going to throw that first question out to you. What's a mommy sabbatical?
I think to me, a mommy sabbatical means time away from anyone or anything that needs you, that's pulling at you. And so, I mean, the term is like it's a sabbatical away from being a mommy, but I think it's also away from all the things that pull at you. And so it's not just getting away from the kids, it's closing the computer. It's saying I am not going to reply to their teachers' emails. I am not going to take care of bills. I'm not going to do any of these responsible parent things that I normally have to take care of that are normally a weight on my shoulders. And this is going to be a little harsh, but as much as I love my hubby, sometimes our husbands are part of that need as well. And as much as I love spending time with my husband, there are times when I just do not want anyone pulling on me. I don't want anyone wanting anything from me. So that's my thought.
So then what does a mommy sabbatical or momcation look like?
I think it really, really varies depending on, your personality type, where you are in life, what kind of season you're in with your kids. Do you have little kids? Are your kids older? For me, it's time alone, but not utterly and completely alone because I am more extroverted. And so if I'm going to take 3 or 4 days completely alone, I think ultimately at the end of that, I would be totally depressed because I don't do well totally alone. But in the past, I've done things like I'll have 3 or 4 days alone, but in that time, I'll go get a manicure. I'll maybe meet up for coffee with a good friend a couple of times. And so I'll do some things with people, but then those evening hours, I get to eat whatever I want.
Hmm.
I don't have to fix anything for anybody. I don't have to base what movie I'm going to watch on what my husband might feel like watching as well. That I get to just pick what I want to do
So
every morning, every night.
do you go to a hotel? Do you rent a cabin? I mean, how do you get away completely alone?
Okay, well, I have been really, really spoiled. And so the first time I took a mommy sabbatical was probably goodness, 10 or 12 years ago. And our best friends have a beautiful, well, they've moved now, but they had this beautiful log cabin. And the first time I took a mommy sabbatical, they were going to be out of town for like a long weekend. And so they were like, why don't you come house sit? Ha ha, really just an excuse to come and
Right.
have a getaway. So it was free getaway, beautiful, beautiful location, peaceful up in the mountains, sunny deck, hot tub. And so it was a freebie. And that's a really nice perk. And I've encouraged other moms to try to do that, to do like trade-offs with friends, hey, when you're out of town, let me know. I'll come house sit in quotes.
Mhm.
And I think that's a great way to pursue having that break without having to put out a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know that you've spoken about mommy sabbaticals and blogged
Mhm.
about mommy sabbaticals. And so, how widespread do you think this need is? Like, what are you seeing in terms of your friend group and the culture of momcations? What are you seeing?
Yeah. I think I'm seeing it's way more of a need for stay-at-home moms. which sounds weird. I don't know. There's this discrepancy between working moms and stay-at-home moms that I think working moms often think that stay-at-home moms have all this free time, and stay-at-home moms often think that working moms have all this like encouragement time. Like they get all this good feedback and pat on the back, and you get a paycheck. And I think stay-at-home moms often feel like what they do is super thankless. But then I think working moms think stay-at-home moms have it so easy because they're not exhausted and having to spread themselves so thin to be with their kids. And anyway, so it's just this big discrepancy. But I think for sure I'm seeing more stay-at-home moms that are more desperate for that getaway, for that time alone.
And so what do you see as the benefit to that?
Oh my goodness.
I lost your sound.
Well,
Okay, you're back.
that's there. I don't know.
Glitch, it happens.
Okay. My family would say that I'm a way better mommy and wife when I get home, like after I've had some time away. And generally, sadly, by the time I'm scheduling a mommy sabbatical, I'm so fried that my family is kind of like, why don't you go away for a few days? And then when I come back, I'm refreshed, I'm rested, I'm rejuvenated, I'm a better wife. Yeah.
Hmm. So I'm having a really hard time wrapping my brain around this concept.
Yes.
So I posted a question about it on
Uh-huh.
Facebook, right? Because I wanted to see, you're such an advocate for this.
Hmm.
And because I don't understand it,
Yeah.
even as a psychologist, I don't get it. And I'll talk about why in a few minutes. So I posted it I just threw it out there on Facebook and said, friends, tell me what you think about this. And so I got responses that ran the gamut. Okay. So um, some of my friends said they've never gone away solo and they don't want to. Others said they've never gone away solo, but they do want to. Like if they
Hmm.
could, they would.
Yeah.
Um, a few said that they take time once a week for themselves, whether it's one night a week or one morning a week, and their husbands do the same thing. Others talked about how they wouldn't go away, but they do think it's important that you pursue your own interests, do things for yourself, self care. Um, one said they feel like going to work is their solo time, which you kind
Yeah.
of alluded to.
Hmm.
Um, one of them said, I would never travel without my husband. In fact, she said, my spouse is so much a part of who I am that it's hard to not travel with him. And
Hmm.
then I had several friends that feel like both were important, time solo away
Hmm.
and time away together.
Yeah.
So I was glad to see that I wasn't completely alone in thinking that a mommy sabbatical or a momcation is insane, right? Because I was starting to wonder,
Yeah.
it's such a thing. Why am I not grabbing hold of this concept?
Hmm.
And so one of the things that I struggle with is when I think about a mom needing time away, a
Hmm.
weekend away, or a week away, or 10 days away, my question is why? Why do they need a break so badly? Because if they had a way to keep their soul and body nurtured day in and day out, would they need a 10-day break from everyone, right?
Hmm.
Do they have authentic friendships? Is social media being honest rather than a highlight reel? Are their
Oh.
husbands giving 50%? Do their kids' teachers show grace when homework is a mess or absent? Do they have a supportive church? Do they have a great babysitter or two or three? Do they have a cleaning service that's helping, right? So in my mind, when you leverage your resources, when you have access to those resources,
Hmm.
it keeps you fueled all along the way,
Okay.
right? You're pursuing your hobbies, you're taking a morning a week to go get a mani-pedi or a massage. Why are we getting to the point of being utterly exhausted at the
Hmm.
breaking point, like you said happens to you,
Yeah.
before you say, okay, now I'm going to go get away and feed my soul for 10 days?
Right. And
That,
I think 10 days is excessive.
okay.
I think that would be extremely excessive. I think a long weekend, even 2 nights, 3 nights is like, oh my goodness, that would be miraculous. Okay, but so I'm gonna do give you an opposite perspective.
Sure.
Okay, so when my kids were little, and I was a stay-at-home homeschool mom with my kids, I did not get a break ever. They didn't go to school. I did their schooling. I cooked breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I put them to bed at night. I mean, my husband helped. Um, and then I think for a lot of women too, a lot of women with young kids that are not working women, there's not the financial opportunity that you kind of expressed. Oh, once a week you go get a mani pedi. I'm like, I wish. No, when I started taking breaks and being able to get away from my kids, we didn't have two nickels to rub together. I didn't go pay, to stay somewhere, and I would have to scratch together, nickels and quarters and whatever to go get a manicure if
Mm,
I was away. And that would be the only manicure or pedicure I got that entire year. And
right.
so, no, I didn't have a housekeeper. I didn't have anybody that came in and helped clean. I didn't have anybody that babysat. We didn't take breaks as a couple because or vacations as a couple because we couldn't afford it. And I think that's a super, super common place for stay-at-home moms. When you don't have that dual income, a lot of times finances are super tight. I mean, and I posted that same question, and yeah, I got a response about she said it would be wonderful, a mommy sabbatical would be wonderful, but it does not end up being realistic. Finances play a big part.
Sure. And that was one of the questions that I was hoping we could answer today
Yeah.
is it practical, right?
Yeah.
To take that time away. So
Not very often.
I want to respond to your thought that stay-at-home moms might need this more than working moms.
Uh-huh.
And so again, you're coming at this from a stay-at-home mom perspective. I'm coming
Yes.
at this from a working mom perspective.
Uh-huh.
In my mind, unless you own your own business, you go to work and your mind is on meeting the needs of your employer or the organization all day, every day,
Mm-hmm.
which is stressful.
Yeah.
So, working moms actually have two jobs.
Oh, for
Get up in the
sure.
morning, they take care of the kids, they get them out the door to school, then they go and work for someone else most of the time, all day,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then they come home and they have to do dinner, homework, bedtime routine, and
Yep.
collapse on the couch, at 10, 11 p.m. and
Mm-hmm.
hope to get just a few minutes with their husband before they go to sleep and start all over the next day.
Right.
So in my mind, um, that's just as rigorous
Oh, for
and break
sure.
free, as the stay-at-home mom who doesn't feel like they're getting a break either.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so then the other reason that I'm struggling to wrap my brain around the mommy sabbatical or the momcation or these solo trips
Yeah.
is that I can't imagine taking a vacation day or two or three or five and spending it alone when I could be spending that time with my husband.
Right.
And so I feel like I'd be wasting that vacation time.
Yeah.
The marriage is the center of the family.
Mm-hmm.
That
Absolutely.
relationship is there before you have children, and it's going to be there when your children are grown and gone. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't nurture it along the way, you're going to really struggle, right? When you've
Yeah.
got that empty nest.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so, to me, a couple's getaway is so much more important. than a solo getaway. And so I think too, I agree with my friend who said my husband's such a big part of me. I wouldn't want to travel without him.
Yeah,
I would be lonely, bored, and wishing that my spouse was there to share this time with me.
right. I think that it's important, equally important, to have both. And again, it's going to depend, like your perspective on needing that mom time away is going to so greatly depend on your season of life and your personality and your career. And I think, I mean, I see you as very fulfilled in your career, and you get lots of accolades, you do a great job, your coworkers love you, you're very loved in what you do and respected and successful. And I don't know that that's something you need to feel that you need to feel that you need a mommy sabbatical. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I feel like if it's not something that you're longing for and you're hungry for, well, that's beautiful. That's awesome. Then that your vacation days are so much more limited as a working mom than I think a stay-at-home mom. I don't know, if you've got a good support system, if you've got support people that you can call on to help with kids and stuff like that, then yeah, there is more flexibility to get away sometimes. Not for all stay-at-home moms, but I just think that that's cool. Like if it's not a need for you, so be it. But I think that there's lots and lots of moms out there that desperately need that time away from anyone pulling on them. Equally, I want the getaway time with my husband for sure. And in fact, my husband and I do some kind of a getaway, even if it's just an overnight, every single quarter. And then we try to do twice a year, pretty significant getaways, like a week, 5 days, something like that.
Mm.
And so that's a huge priority. And yet, I also need a break alone.
So, do you think that there's a cultural aspect to this that um, our modern society has this focus on independence rather than interdependence? I place a very high priority on connection, right? I talk
Mhm.
about that in almost every episode, the importance of connection.
Yeah.
And I actually read a book called Choosing Marriage: Why It Has to Start with We Greater Than Me,
Nice.
by
Yeah.
Deborah Fileta.
Mhm.
And here's what she says about spending free time alone. The people who are constantly investing in life outside of marriage are doing so at the expense of life inside their marriage. They're watering their personal lives while their marriages are slowly dying of thirst. They're choosing self instead of choosing marriage. So, what do you say about that?
Well, I think you're still saying that it has to be one or the other. And
But
I
for
just
working moms with a limited amount of vacation time,
mhm.
right? Or even for the stay at home mom who has to work to find care for their children to take a sabbatical, especially if their spouses are busy working during the day,
Uh-huh.
given the limits of how often you can go away.
I think
Speak
there
to
should
that.
be a balance. I just think there should be a balance. I think that it's important to have both if that's something that you long for as a mom. And fine, not all moms do. Um, you know what? I'm going to pull up this great comment from Stephen Kotler. So Stephen Kotler posted, he is an author and a speaker and just an awesome go-getter. So he wrote about a great deal, well, it's a solitude. So he writes, solitude matters. Creativity needs non-time. And non-time, he means like downtime. A great deal of creativity requires collaboration, but the incubation phase demands the opposite. Taking a break from the sensory bombardment of the world gives your brain even more reason to wander into far-flung corners. A 2012 study run by psychologists at the University of Utah, for example, found that after 4 days alone in nature, subjects scored 50% higher on standard tests of creativity. Here's the thing. Peak performers don't like downtime. It's the reason that recovery is considered a grit skill. It's also the reason we need to build time for non-time into our schedules. We need distance from our problems. Distance allows us to see things from multiple perspectives, consider another's point of view. But if we don't have the time to get that psychological distance, to get space from our emotions and take a break from the world, then we won't have the luxury of patience or the uplift of alternative possibilities. So
Hmm.
I thought that was a great quote, that it's, again, I don't think it has to be, we're not talking about either or. We're not saying you either take time with your husband or you take time alone. I think if you've got a week of vacation days, then great. Take 4 of those, 5 of those with your spouse with that connection. But I think there is important psychological, mental, emotional health that comes from pulling back from all relationships and having alone, quiet time for a couple of days. If you can only get those 7 days.
So, what would be the benefit of taking days versus carving out an hour for yourself every evening to unplug?
I think that's fine for some people. It's not been effective for me.
How come?
It's just not enough time. It's not enough time to reboot. Okay, so here's a response.
You know what? Hold that thought. We need to take a break and hear a word from our sponsor.
Oh, yes. All right, we want to give a special Learning RX shout out to Wesley, who struggled to stay focused, to remember information, and perform well in school. After a one-on-one brain training with Learning RX, Wesley is learning easier, thinking faster, and performing better. Now he's attending his dream college and thriving. Visit learningrx.com to learn how one-on-one brain training can transform your child's biggest struggles.
And we're back.
Great. Okay. Well, I was going to read about rebooting.
Yes.
A comment for our post, kind of getting responses from people. So here's somebody who took a recent getaway. On my recent getaway, here's the analogy. If your phone is bogging down, we think to shut it down, reboot. But when there's an upgrade available, we also shut the phone down, but then it doesn't just power up. It slowly comes back while upgrading. And when it turns back on, it has a new and improved operating system. While family and marriage investments are important, my need to get away and not only reboot, but upgrade my operating system is vital and can only happen when I have the space to shut down and reflect and slowly come back with improvements. I thought that was really cool. Yeah.
It does, of course, help illustrate that
Oops,
need.
sorry. Sorry.
It does help illustrate that need and that benefit. So,
Mhm.
talk to me a little bit about how you spend that time.
Well, I personally spend a lot of time just listening, just silence, the birds, the wind, we would call it mindful meditation. Just being quiet, being still. Definitely spending time in God's word for me, spending time reading my Bible and in prayer, but a lot of just, I call it listening prayer. So instead of like telling God or asking God, I do a lot of listening. And then, yeah, just the mindful meditation, just being present,
So,
gratitude.
so I'm going to throw something at you.
Okay.
There's some recent research out of University of Buffalo on mindfulness.
Hmm.
And the takeaway is that mindfulness can make you selfish. It
Okay.
it decreases pro-social behaviors in people with a mindset of independence. So Western societies tend to be individualistic, and adopting mindfulness practices has increased that individualistic mindset. Wh- what do you say to that? Does it
I'm
make you selfish? Does it make you
I'm
more me focused?
I would say I'm absolutely selfish and me focused. Yep, there you go. That's why I have 9 kids and do missions work and pour my life out constantly.
Okay, so
No,
you're being sarcastic.
obviously I'm being sarcastic. No, and I think that may be where we're going culturally, and that's why there are no one size fits all answers. There's not going to be one thing that listeners are going to walk away and say, this is what I need. I need a mommy sabbatical and it's going to look like this. No, because it's different for everyone and it's going to look different where you are in your life and it's going to feel different and your needs for that are different. Okay, so this past month, went on a getaway with my husband to Florida. It was awesome. We were there it was about a week. We were gone from home. Well, he is a writer and he's got a editor deadline May 1st. And so he actually stayed in Florida for an additional 2 weeks. He just got home. Well, yesterday was the first full day he was home. So he was gone for an additional 2 full weeks. And so I'm at home. I was very supportive and eager. I try to talk him into it. Yes, take a writing intensive, enjoy that time. The beach inspires you. And it was great. He got a ton done. He got some good downtime, some rest time, some reboot, daddy sabbatical time as well. And I'm exhausted. I am so tired and fried. And don't tell them, but oh my gosh, sick of my kids. I love them so much. I love being with my kids. But after that constancy, burning the candle at both ends, being up with my older kids till late at night, and then being up with my itty bitty kids early in the morning, I'm just so tired. And so I'm gonna have a getaway now. And so we have a family member that's got a house in Florida that she's letting us stay at because they're out of town. And so again, a free getaway, but I'm going to go back. I'm going back to Florida and I'm going to get 5 days in Florida at the beach to rest, recover, reboot, rejuvenate. And if that makes me selfish, well, so be it.
So let me ask you this. We know that sleeping in on Saturday mornings is not enough to compensate for sleep deprivation during the week, right? So everybody
Right.
goes at, Mach 2 with their hair on fire all week, and then they sleep in on Saturdays thinking they can make up for all of that. And you can't. Physiologically, we don't work like that. So talk to me a little bit about why an extended period of time for a momcation or mommy sabbatical is enough to rejuvenate you um, versus a spa day or a night away. Talk to me
Okay.
about that a little bit.
Okay. So May 2018. So it's been a while. It's not a brand new study, but Journal of Sleep Research study did just some pretty significant research about sleeping on the weekends, getting longer sleep on the weekends, that is correlated with increased mortality with the longer life than for those who only get 6 to 7 hours of sleep during the weekdays and then consistently only get those 6 to 7 hours of sleep on the weekend. And so it's interesting. I mean, I think there's research studies to show all sides of everything.
Right, so
But
something is happening there when you sleep on
right.
the weekend, something beneficial.
Yeah. And so it was showing that longer weekend sleep is associated with longer, it says increased mortality, longer lifespan as compared to consistent short sleep. Okay, so I think likewise, and I don't have a research study to pull it up, to support it, but I think likewise that when a human, a mom, a parent, anybody is consistently, yeah, what, burning the candle at both ends, I don't know, consistently being pulled, 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 and then thinking that, okay, I can take that bath and that's going to do it. I don't think a long hot bath once a week is enough of a break when you're feeling pulled 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if that's what that mom is feeling.
Mm.
And if you're not feeling that, Amy, then that's not something you need. But I think it's that issue of, if there are 10 moms out there, I don't care, working, stay at home, who cares? 5 of them say, I'm exhausted for whatever reason. It's my personality disorder. I put too much emphasis on pleasing everyone, whatever it is. But if 5 of those moms are saying, I need a break, then so be it. Let's encourage those moms to get a break. And if 5 of those moms are saying, I'm fine, I can take a bubble bath once a week, and that's lovely. I can, once a month, just crash, stay in bed all day long, binge Netflix and eat a gallon of ice cream, and that works for me. Well, then so be it. That's fine. We don't all have the same needs, and we aren't all going to find the same answers.
That's a good point, because there are lots of moms who are not feeling so exhausted that they need
Yeah.
a break, right? That
Yeah.
they're finding ways daily to nurture
Yeah.
their souls and nurture their bodies. Whether it's spending an hour in the gym, um, going for a walk, going for a drive,
Yeah.
having lunch with girlfriends, spending time with grandchildren if you're older, right? So there, whatever brings you joy and
Hmm.
rejuvenation, if that works for you, then that's enough. You shouldn't question, well, do I need to force myself to take a break?
Right.
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 Okay, I think that's a really, really good point that I want our listeners to hear.
Yeah.
That you have to do what you need
Right.
versus. I want to go back to that sleep study though. So you said it was associated with increased mortality. Did you mean
Uh-huh.
increased longevity? Because increased mortality is actually death, not longer lifespan.
Right. I'm so sorry. No, increased mortality. I said the correlation wrong. The increased mortality was associated with all the people that consistently got the same shorter sleep.
Lack of sleep all weekend too. Okay,
Right.
thank you for the clarification because
So sorry.
our sciencey listeners are thinking the same thing that I was thinking.
Right.
That's not making sense.
No, no, I mean, it's talking about increased mortality with the shorter consistent sleep. So yeah.
Sure. Um,
Anyway, thank you for clarifying that. Oopsie.
Absolutely. So any final thoughts on, let's say that we have moms listening that really want to do this. They want to
Mhm.
take a momcation or a mommy sabbatical. What
Yeah.
suggestions do you have for them?
I think it's going to be the hardest for listeners that don't have a good support system, and that just is a bummer, because I think it's easy for us to sit here and say, "Oh, it's great to have time away with your spouse, and marriage should be number one." But there are lots and lots and lots of moms that are not in thrilling marriages, and they are not married to men who even care to take time away with them or who can afford it. I mean, there's so many reasons that marriage getaways or mommy getaways are not going to be practical. If you've got special needs kids, like I did with my oldest son for 12 years,
Mhm.
you don't get away. And I think those are the moms that need it the most. I would say the first thing to do would begin to reach out and ask for help. Try to discover, cultivate a support system so that if you do need that time away, you can make it happen. I think trading off houses, if you can talk to a couple of friends when they're out of town, like you offer yours when we're out of town, why don't you come stay? And then even trading off babysitting nights. If you've got your kids have friends that you trust their parents enough that your kids could go over there. That would be, I think, the hardest part. And the number one thing is so many moms that need it and don't feel like they can take that break. I would say try to come up with low cost or free support systems so that you can get the rest that you need.
And it doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? I mean, maybe they only get, from noon to 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
That's better than not doing anything at all, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think an overnight, when you have littles, if you've got little ones at home, an overnight is very, very powerful to get one good night's sleep. If you can get 2 nights, that would be astounding. But I think when you have littles, there's always you just sleep on edge because there's always somebody going, "Mommy, mom." And so to have that full night's sleep without anybody calling for you, or to not have that toddler getting in your bed at night, or whatever your personal struggle might be, with being exhausted, I think getting an overnight could be really healing.
So what types of things do you suggest moms do on their time away?
Sleep. Sleep for sure. Maybe just do those things that you don't take the time for. Maybe you can't afford to go get a pedicure, but you can go to the dollar store and get a nail file and pick out a pretty color and nail polish remover and do your own pedicure. And I do think mindfulness might make us selfish. Okay, whatever. But I think as mommies that have been pouring out, maybe we need a little self-absorption every once in a while. I think it's good to have quiet time also. If you can sit outside if the weather's nice, or sit in front of a window, get some sunshine, go on a walk. A little physical activity is good, just a stroll. I think those are all helpful things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an interesting debate today for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
As we've talked about mommy sabbaticals and momcations, and
Mhm.
do moms need time away? And we've decided that you may or you may not. You have
Right.
to do what's most comfortable for you and what's tugging
Mhm.
on your heart.
Yeah.
Are they practical? For some people, they are. For others, you just got to find a way, if you feel the need for a break, to carve
Mhm.
out small time
Yep.
here and there and work on increasing your support network so that you
Yeah.
can get a little bit of time away if
Mhm.
you want it. And then for those who feel that that time would be better spent with their spouse, nurturing their marriage, then absolutely that's the right choice for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All right,
Ideally, we would have time to nurture both,
for both.
to nurture self, to nurture rest, and to also nurture your marriage, ideally. So,
And I think in an upcoming podcast, we're actually going to be talking about types of rest, right?
mhm.
Right. So look forward to that.
Yeah.
All right. So if you liked our podcast today, please give us a review,
Give us a thumbs up.
a thumbs up, follow us. And look, we're busy moms, you're busy moms, so we're out.
See ya.